didn't even introduce yourself.
I didn't even introduce myself. Wow, I knew going in.
We have to learn how to love kids.
I really learned myself.
85% of our calls are EMS.
And that's not only for police, but, it is for firefighters and 911 telecommunicators.
Our last guest is going to be a great show today.
Mm-hmm.
God said, come as you are, right?
You gotta go down memory lane. Oh, man. No, that was really cool.
Great conversation, you guys. Wow.
You know it feels so good.
Good morning, Joy 1340 AM listeners. I am Officer Ralph McClain with the Milwaukee Police Department. I am a part of the Office of Community Relations, Engagement, and Recruitment, and I am here with...
Sir, my name is Jordan Dickerson. I am one of the recruiters with the City of Milwaukee Fire and Police Commission, and we are back with episode 30 of The Conversation.
30 of The Conversation. I like that 30.
Why you like the 30?
That number 30, it has a nice ring to it. It's usually like something big. It's the combination of something big. Like, sometimes even when you turn the big 30.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about, because so for the listeners out there, my birthday just passed. It was on Tuesday, June 25th, and I just turned the big 3-0. And if I'm being completely honest, like, I know a lot of times some people, they're afraid of turning 30 and like getting older and stuff like that. First and foremost, I don't think 30 is old by any means, but this younger generation, I can say that now. This younger generation now, they consider 25 years old old age, or 30 years old. But no, I'm like super excited about my 30s. I just think God, he has continued to like bless me with like wisdom, knowledge, and he's going to continue to grow me. And I know like my 30s is going to be filled with a lot of growth, with a lot of knowledge, and continue to prosper, man. So I'm excited for my 30s.
Hey, as they say, man, listen.
Jesus started his ministry in his 30s.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a blessing for another rotation around the sun.
Exactly.
So belated happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I hear that's the proper way to say it. People usually say happy belated birthday, but I hear it to be...
I think either works.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday. I would sing, man.
I
kind of, they say I sound like Sam Cooke.
Listen, you just...
You know who Sam Cooke is?
I don't know.
I thought that.
No.
Yeah, I figured.
I don't know.
But no, we appreciate you, brother. Happy birthday to you. So, before we talk to our esteemed guests here, who we're honored to have in the studio with us, we do want to mention, as we always do, that the city of Milwaukee is hiring presently for Milwaukee police officers for the Milwaukee Police Department. And if you've ever thought about coming out serving this great community of ours, please feel free to go to the City of Milwaukee/jobs website to fill out the application for the police officer position. You will be walked through the initial process. We will get you ready for every step of the way and get you ready to come out here on these streets and serve, again, this great city of Milwaukee. And I will let Jordan Dickerson give you a number that will be helpful.
Yes, so if you ever have any questions about, the process, what it's like, you can feel free to text this number right here. It's 414-519-6190. Again, that's 414-519-6190. You can text that number, ask us any questions about what it's like to become an officer, what is the process like, what does testing look like, how long does it take, whatever it is that you want to know before you get started, feel free to text that number. Myself and the other recruiter, we actually respond to those text messages ourselves. So it's not an AI, it's not a bot or anything like that. It's actual people responding to you and who want to help you succeed throughout the process.
Absolutely. Today in the studio, we have with us Mr. Jerry Wilson. Jerry Wilson is the owner-operator of Carpenter Marketing Group, LLC. And Jerry's a lifetime resident of Wisconsin, specializing in Medicare programs as a certified Medicare advisor with a focus on life and health insurance. With more than 40 years of experience in the financial industry, Jerry provides customized solutions and helps his clients accomplish their financial and insurance goals through ongoing education and proactive service. And if you're turning 65, approaching retirement, or already on Medicare, Jerry will outline the necessary steps and explain the different plans available as it relates to pricing options, benefit packages, so the coverage fits your needs. In his spare time, Jerry enjoys spending time with his wife and family, and he is an avid golfer and passionate Wisconsin sports fan.
Oh yeah, Packers, Bucks, Brewers. No Chicago stuff around here.
None at all? Wow. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen and listeners, we are privileged and honored to have in the studio Mr. Jerry Wilson. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here this morning, and I'm just enjoying getting to know both of you guys and just spending time with you. So this is good. Hopefully this will be informative to your listening audience, and really just want to share a couple of highlights, and I guess just talk through some things, just what's going on in the community and how I can help and bring support to that.
I love that.
I love that as well, and it sounds like you've been doing that for 40 plus years in some aspect.
That is correct. Officer McLean, I spent a number of years in the corporate setting, but there was this burning question. I'd be in meetings, we'd always be addressing the which market do we want to approach next, and how are we going to really, make inroads in that particular area. Well, it came, as an African American, it came time where they said, well, gee, we want to really, with diversity and inclusion, a lot was being talked about to say, hey, we want to be at the forefront and involved in what's going on, in our community, and making sure that people know that we have financial products and services that they can use. Long story short, we did some testing and, built out a campaign. They came back and they said, you know what, that African American market is not as strong as we'd like it to be, so we're just going to divert and go a different direction. Mm-hmm. But then I stood up and said, well, but what about all those people, those African American people you just talked about, you want to address and include, and they don't have life insurance, disability insurance. They don't have anybody to advise them on their health insurance, and how to create the wealth that will be passed generationally from one generation to the next. And that became, I guess if you could call it, that became a big, well, why? Right. Who's going to do something about that? And then, it wasn't, there wasn't any burning bush or anything. There wasn't any Moses moment. But I remember one day I got diverted off of the expressway, and I was driving through my old neighborhood. And I grew up on 24th and Walnut, and I was passing, my old house where I grew up. And the Lord just, wasn't no audible voice or anything, Officer McLean. It was like, there was no audible voice, but something said, well, what about you? Mm. And I said, you talking to me, God? And it's like, and it really became a time where I just started to reflect on that. And I said, well, yeah. And I was at the point I had spent like almost 30-something years, 33 years. I went home, I talked to my wife and asked her, said, hey, this is a real burning, desire to see a difference. We're talking about this from a corporate perspective, but who's going to make a difference in the lives of young people? And back when I grew up, there's a couple of things that you always had. You always had, you always made sure that there was a life insurance policy, mm-hmm. and everybody used to be a guy come around and collect the money, they mm-hmm. called it industrial insurance then. Mm-hmm. You'd pay on it, and the person would come around and collect it. But that always something, but because mama and daddy and family always believe you need to have insurance. And I started seeing more and more that people did not have insurance. And by the way, I mean, no disrespect to anyone, a GoFundMe is not a way to fund a funeral. Mm-hmm. The Bible says there's a point unto man wants to die, and after it's the judgment. We don't know when we're going to die, mm-hmm. but if it takes place, we need to be prepared for when it happens. No, it doesn't take away the loss and the things that the sadness and the sorrow of the person gone. But what it does is that it helps us to grieve properly. Mm-hmm. It allows us to be able to say that he or she was taken care of, and their dreams can be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. And two quick questions. I'm glad you mentioned that. With the GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. I guess first of all, if information about how to properly make sure that your loved one, or even if you're doing it yourself, that everything is taken care of mm-hmm. When you need it to be, Is that some information that needs to get out? At what age do you think? Like, because I think so many people, when they think of life insurance, think that, oh, I don't have to think about that right now. You know, I'm in my 20s or my 30s or my 40s. And so they don't think about that. Or those who may be underemployed don't readily think about that kind of thing. That's the first thing. I think the second thing I would question would be the GoFundMe. With the advent of the internet and the GoFundMe movement, I think that's just become so trendy with people saying, hey, let me lean on that.
Right.
You know, they'd rather go there in that direction because they figure, oh, that's quick and I can just do it. And
They don't want to take the time.
they don't
learn
want to take
about
the
it.
time to actually learn how to properly have coverage. What do you see?
You know, I want to go back. You made a great statement there when you said that. What age should we start?
Yes.
This is when you should start, when the baby is born. And I'm saying that to the elders and, you know, mothers and fathers. And this is a group that's really involved in a lot of people's lives, to the grandparents. Now, suppose I was to tell both of you gentlemen this morning that there's a way to fund a life insurance policy for a baby that's, you know, 1 month old. From 1 month old up until they're 18. Costs $125. One-time payment, and you're done until they're 18. That's how we get around. That's how we start to say we should have that for the young person. That's for the babies, because unfortunately, in you guys' line of work, you see this.
Yes.
It used to be, we would not hear about all the deaths that are taking place for small babies. So it happens.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah,
And if we do that, it'll start to make a difference in our community. And people start to say, okay, I can take some, you know, I can make sure that my baby is taken care of if something happens to them. Because unfortunately, bullets don't have names on them. They don't know, oh, she doesn't have insurance, or he doesn't have insurance, we're gonna go over here to Southern. No, it's just an unfortunate process that's taking place in our community, but it's something that we can do something. It doesn't bring the person back, but it helps us to be able to take care of our own.
Yeah, absolutely. And the GoFundMe that's just people not really wanting to find out properly, right? It just kind of I don't want to term it necessarily.
But I think it's something that, like you said, it's trendy, and it's something that we thought, well, you know, it's like, gee, well, somebody else will help me with this. Well, this is something that we can do on our own. I mean, back in the day, you know, I mean, I'm a little older than you guys. I'm 60 plus, almost ready for Medicare, and the thing is that in those situations we had. You know, we always made sure, like I said, that mom and daddy always made sure that we had that insurance in place, that we got our education, because so many people fought hard for us to get that. And people say, well, gee, it's hard to, you know, money's tight. This is the thing I tell younger people that are younger than 30. You know, this is what you got to do. You got to get your insurance early while you're young. You gotta get your insurance while there's no health problems. And for that 20-something, 30-something-year-old person, you know, the most important thing is, you know, there's a phrase that says, buy term and invest the difference. You gotta have a term policy. You want a term policy because a term is exactly what that is. It's for a specific period of time. Do you know you can get a term policy for less than like $20 a month if you're 20 years old? And that premium will never change until you get, you know, now you can get a term policy for like up to 40 years. And so that'll carry you through all your working years and get as big a policy as you can. And for like 20 or 30 bucks, you can get $500,000. So you hear the commercial on TV, it's true. You know, so we just got to make sure that message gets out to our community to do it. This is the most important thing for young people as well. Make sure you get a disability income policy. Because if you live, but the probability of a young person becoming disabled or being, you know, injured while they're at work, the probability is like, you know, it's like 1 out of 3 people will experience that. And what you can't do is that you can't go and get replace that income. You know, like if you're laid off, I mean, if you're disabled, trying to recover your health, You need something that's going to allow you to be able to focus on your health, get well enough so you can go back to work. So it's important that you have a DI policy. And then lastly, for the person that's middle-aged and, like 40, 40 plus, he or she needs to start thinking about retirement then. And then for the person that's 65 and retiring, that person, he or she needs to be thinking, how do I make my money outlive me? So there's a couple of different phases in life, and we do what's called at CMG, Life, Annuity, and Health, we do what's called holistic planning. We look at the different stages of life, and we help you develop a plan that's going to be unique and customized. You read it earlier. Yes. Customized to fit your situation. There's no two situations that are alike. And by the way, it's good to talk to our neighbor, but you need to talk to a professional when it comes to your planning.
Yeah. So.
I love that we're to have you on as a guest right now, because I was just telling Rob about this. I have an appointment after later today to discuss life insurance and everything for me to get a policy and everything. I feel as if
I should have been on the show.
I was gonna say I feel as if I still need to communicate and talk with you and learn a little bit more about the whole life insurance and things to look for to make sure I'm doing the right thing. But I want to go back to something. I think it seems like you're very passionate about getting this message out and speaking to people. And you asked a question earlier about what's a good age to start looking for it. But also as a kid, I didn't know about anything like this. I wasn't taught this at all in school. Do you think that this is something that should be at least taught in high school to educate our youth and let them know hey, this is something that you guys should be looking forward to, at least have some type of understanding? Because now I'm sitting here at 30 years old. It's never too late, but I'm sitting here thinking wow, I'm kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit because I'm trying to learn everything. It's wow, I wish I would have known and learned this a little bit earlier. So do you think it's important for our school system to actually try to push and for us to learn a little bit more about life insurance and everything?
Absolutely. And the term that is used in in a lot of professional settings, it's called financial literacy.
Yes, yeah.
We need financial literacy in our in our community, whether the school does it, whether the church does it, or whether our community organizations do it. We need to be able to tap into the resources and the financial professionals. There's a word that I like to use. I was taught this years ago. We need to develop an abundance mentality. And what that means is that as you learn and you grow and you accumulate your wealth and you become successful, reach back and pull somebody else forward with you. And it's never, never too late to start that. You could be 65, 75 years old, and that's the biggest, I think, misconception that we have is well, man, I missed it. I didn't do it early enough. No, whenever you start planning, that's a good time.
Another thing I want to kind of touch on, and switching gears from life insurance, is I know a couple of weeks ago you did a seminar on what it was with a will and and trustees. You did a seminar on that.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of be open and vulnerable here. I want to say maybe 2 months ago in April or so, I lost my biological father.
Okay.
Didn't have the most amazing relationship with him, but still passing at the end of the day. And I'm speaking with my brother, and he's talking to me about how much stress he's under and pressure he's under from all these other family members trying to figure out, I want this, and I want to grab this, and this is mine, and he left this, and this should be for me. And he's sitting there we just had somebody pass, a loved one pass, and this is all that the family is thinking about is how can I get a money grab? How can I come up on this very unfortunate situation? And now he has to deal with that because, not everything was set in place. And now you have people trying to override certain things. Yes. Just talk about the importance a little bit of wills and trustees.
This is, we did a seminar at the McGovern Park Senior Center. And by the way, I'm an insurance professional. I bring in a professional. I have a team that I work with. And, just like Michael Jordan, years ago, okay, here comes the Chicago angle here. Just like, years ago with Michael Jordan, when Michael Jordan, he was always getting beaten by the bad boys of Detroit. Yeah. He was always getting beaten. Yeah. But you know what he did? He says, you know what? I'm going to find somebody to help me understand my blind spots. And he got a coach. And what his coach identified is that when you do this, this is what your opponents do. But if you do this, this is going to allow you to counter that. And then that you know, everybody wants to be like Mike.
Yeah.
That's when the dunking and everything started going. That's when he really went to the next level. And that's when he won the championship. He couldn't do it alone. He had a team. But this is what this is why it's important to have a team of financial advice. And you know, by the way, you don't have to be rich to get advisors. You know, you work with someone like myself. There's no cost to meet with me. There's no cost, no obligation. But like you said, if you find that you work with me and I'm working, you know, we work well together, because you're not going to vibe with everybody that you're talking to. So you want to have the right person you're meeting with. But this is the thing. With wills, you want to have a will because it allows people to know what your the last will and testament, what your intentions are for the distribution of your assets. Now, when you have a will, you have to do something that can cause that contention in the family, where it could be contested. A will can be contested because of the fact that it is something that has to go before the court to be approved to say, yes, he was of a sound mind when he or she made this decision, and now the assets can pass to the individuals. And then what happens with the will is that you often have to, when it gets probated, it involves an attorney. And you have to pay the attorney. And you're gonna pay, you can pay, that's the old saying, you can pay now or pay later. You can pay with the probate, it doesn't cost you. You can write your own will out, but if it goes to court and has to be probated and it gets contested, then you have to hire an attorney to represent you. Okay. But with a trust is is another way. It costs to do it, but it's something that you can set up, and it helps to avoid the probate process because it identifies where all your assets are going, and then more importantly, it assigns a beneficiary to everything that you have. Now, this is the thing. Last thing, you don't have to have a will of trust if this is what's happening. If you have your life insurance policy, make sure your beneficiary is named on there. If you ever get married, if you take it out when you're single, when you get married, you got to remove, you don't have to, but you want to make sure if you still want your mother, your brother, or somebody else to be on there, you want to update that. Too many times I've seen it where people have gotten married, divorced, and they forget to change their beneficiary, and guess what? The ex individual, and maybe it works out well, but now there's some changes that have been made to that, so it is approached differently. But back in the day, the ex-spouse would get the money. Last thing, if you have your 401k through your employer, you want to make sure that there's a beneficiary on there. You want to make sure that when you have a house, if you're like a married couple, you want to make sure that there's one thing that you can do to avoid probate, because our house is usually one of our biggest assets that we have. You want to have what's called a transfer on death on file. And you want that on your checking accounts as well. It's called a terminate on death, and it pays to your named beneficiary. All those things help avoid probate. But guys, that's where I stop. I'm not an attorney. I can just simply advise. Right. I can point you, I can coach you to where you need to go in order to make that, a win for yourself, so that we don't have people bickering, so we can focus on the life. Because my saying is that I want to end well, and I want my family to inherit what I have, but more importantly, I don't want any bickering. Right. So I have a trust, and it knows, it's going to be distributed, on my passing, and it's going to be distributed to the people that I want it to, and the organizations that I want it to.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful information. I'm learning a lot.
I am too, honestly. I really am.
Yeah, because many people always wonder what's the difference between a will and a trust. It was always that question. So, thank you so much for that. Jerry, while we have a little time yet, and you're bringing forth all this information, we're going to actually have to get together and assist you any kind of way to getting this information out to the community at large. That's what our hope is going forward. But you're a lifelong resident of Wisconsin.
Yes.
Milwaukee, I see.
Born and raised Milwaukee. Grew up here. Born and raised. I went away to college though. Okay. So I went to school in Ohio. Okay. So I'm an alumni of Central State University, Wilberforce, Ohio, the marching, the Marauders. So I'll shout out to, there's a lot of people that went to Central State here in Wisconsin. So it's a good thing. But I love it. But when I graduated, a word that you learn in college that you don't want to hear, there's a recession. So I came back home to Wisconsin, started working in the financial services industry. Thought I would do it as till something better came along. Well, 40 years later, I'm still doing it. And now, as you said, I'm passionate about it because I want our community to know that they can, we can do some really good things, but you got to do planning now in order to benefit from it later. And the thing is that when we do that planning, I want to make it as where it's tax, the tax advantages are there for the individual, because a lot of times we know how to accumulate assets, y'all, but we don't know how to distribute them in a way it's a word called tax efficient. We need to know, hey, what's the best way to take this money from my 401k? What's the best way to take, or how, if I get this large settlement from my life insurance, how do I invest that? And then this is the thing, right now the stock market is volatile. People aren't aware of the fact that you don't have to lose in the market as you get older. Then the most dangerous time for a retiree is 5 years before you retire and 5 years after you retire. Because in between that time, you can't recover quick enough. You need double the rate of return on your money. So if you're getting 8% on the money, you're going to have to earn 20% to catch up because you lost 50% of your 401k. So you got to get that. You got to be able to work through that and get that back. But there are some things, and one of the things I tell people is that if you have it's one of the best things. Two things for a young man: look at a life insurance policy, because you get to control how it's used. It's a phrase I call. It's called. A lot of people don't have a clue, CLUE, what to do with their money. The C stands for you get to control how your assets are distributed. It gives you liquidity, and you get to determine how it's used, and you determine when the equity is dispersed. So in the case of unfortunately with the passing of your father, it's a situation where you get to determine how that estate's going to be distributed. So it's important that we use that clue method.
Right.
Just really knowing how to control those assets.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted you to just shout out, let the people know where they can find you at. If they want, just learn more information, get a consultation, just let them know where they can find you at real quick.
Sure. Good way to reach out to me is to go to Jerry Wilson at Carpenter, that's CARPENTER, Marketing, MARKETING, Group, and that's another G, Group, GROUP.com. Send me an email or just pick up the phone. If you're like me, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, man, I want to talk to you. And that number is 262-432-9600. Again, that's 262-432-9600.
All right, awesome. I got one more thing to say. So I do my research when we have bring on guests. All right. So I'm gonna say a name, and I want you to tell me what pops in mind when I say this name. Alicia
Miller.
Is that your niece?
That's my niece.
My brother, she actually works with her with the Bucks.
Hold it. we doing a live. We doing a broadcast here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So I had the pleasure of meeting her. She goes to the same church that I go to, and she's an amazing woman. So just had to throw that out there.
Now that is something. See, I tell people all the time, be careful what you say, because they related to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
When you said Alicia, I say Miller.
Hey, we thank you so much, Jerry, for coming on the show, sharing this wealth of information. And, thank you for spending time this morning with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. As the Bible says, more blessed to give than receive. I want our community to receive information, take it, apply it, use it, and make it work for you.
Awesome. That's beautiful. God bless.
All right, God bless.